Good morning. All right. Let's see, if you're looking for a seat, Tim's bringing in some extras there. How they doing there? And there's a few up front here as well, so we'll get everybody seated. This is a different kind of space, it seems like for us, seems like for me a different kind of space, but apparently this is where Sundays were during the summer all the time, right? Because there was no air conditioning upstairs. Can you hear me now? Okay. So this is where you came for the summer Sundays back in the day, right? There was no air conditioning upstairs. You came down here to be cooler. So we got a little bit of a throwback Sunday here. You also see the tables around. That will all be explained. Sit anywhere you like, and we'll get going here. So good morning, and welcome to our Sunday Assembly for August 13th, 2023. Whether you're joining us on site or online, we are glad you are part of our gathered community. Our theme this summer is Off the Beaten Path. In his book, Between the Listening and the Telling, How Stories Can Save Us, Mark Yaconelli shares these words from a character from Winter Count by Barry Lopez. Everything is held together by stories, he thought. That's all that is holding us together. Stories and compassion. Come, let us gather in community.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here and sharing some songs of my own this morning. I'll introduce them as we go along. This first song called Luna, I wrote a long time ago, long before I came to FUS. But even then, I saw it as an expression of my take on humanism. Yes, the universe, the stars, nature are awesome, but in the end, it's only, any wisdom lives here, only we make a difference.
Sitting alone at my window each night, watching the rising moon silvery light, and counting the stars as they peek through the sky, like numberless candles burning on high, and everyone looks to the moon. Everyone looks to the moon. How many others have done such as I? Age after age after age has gone by, but still the mute stars stand their vigil above. What know they of living? What know they of love? And everyone looks to the moon. Everyone looks to the moon. Why do we look to the stars for advice? The heavens are nothing but fire and ice. They have no wisdom, no stories to share. Barren and empty, yet at them we stare. And everyone looks to the moon. Everyone looks to the moon. Sitting alone at my window each night, watching the rising moon silvery light, and counting the stars as they peek through the sky, like numberless candles burning
Thank you, Paul. We begin our assembly by lighting a chalice as we remember one of our principles or aspirations. Today, it's our fourth aspiration, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. We got a new setup for everything today, the sound, the chalice. Will there be a miracle? Thank you, Jake. And then so now we're going to have a song, and this is Wake Now My Senses, number 298, and the words should be on your order of service there if you have it. If you don't have one, you can raise your hand, but we can try to get some more of those around. All right. Oh, yes, please stand. Sorry.
Are there any extras of those orders of service? If Teresa and David could use one up toward the front. There you go. All right. Here we go. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, serving and striving their hardship to end. Please remain standing for our congregational covenant. Please say these words if you know them, and if you don't, just allow yourself to receive them. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Now, please be seated. Part of what makes us a vital community, a community that grows together and cares for each other, is the way we express gratitude. This is gratitude we've expressed along the way, and it's long coming in a public way. We are here to honor Allan Callander on his retirement.
Well, as Rev Kelly just said, this morning we celebrate an absolute FUS legend who has repeatedly heeded the call, accepted the challenge, rose to the occasion, stood in the face of uncertainty, weathered the storm, came out victorious, and maybe even winked in the mirror on occasion.
Today we celebrate the work and retirement and returns to work and retirement of FUS's former finance director, Allan Callander. I'm Julie Stewart.
And I'm Drew Bakius, and together the two of us are here representing our Board of Trustees as we mark an absolutely incredibly special occasion.
Allan's FUS story begins back in 2006 when he and Sheila, freshly wed, consulted an online test called the Belief-O-Matic. AI's predecessor played matchmaker and recommended they look at First Unitarian Society. And well, lucky for us, they swiped right on FUS. And it's been a match made in humanism ever since. Now, while Allan had built a successful career in engineering sales, the great magnetic force of FUS increasingly pulled him toward the financial side of things. First, as a member of our foundation's board of directors, then as treasurer of that board, then chair of that board, and then as treasurers of our own board of trustees.
And that is where we find our leader extraordinaire in 2016 when FUS was, shall we say, suddenly in need of a new finance director. And wouldn't you know it, our superhero had not only just recently retired from his career in tech sales management, but had also racked up a decade's worth of nonprofit finance experience. And so, of course, it only made sense to have Allan step into this staff role as Director of Finance. And over the years that have followed, a highlight of Allan's afterglow career would be the role that he played in the Society's capital campaign, successfully negotiating a $3.5 million loan that was then paid off in full just 2 years later.
And yes, it may be true that on 2 other occasions, Allan thought he had retired from the position, only to discover his replacement didn't quite work out. But who would Allan be if not willing to step right back in, calculator in hand? But now, this time with the arrival of Doug Rohde, it seems Allan's retired for good. It also seems he's available for new leadership responsibility. So if anyone has any ideas.
Sheila, put down the X. Okay. So in just a moment, we're going to have Allan come up and invite him to share a word. But first, of course, Rev David, please.
Yes, I'm David Breeden, the senior minister here on sabbatical for a couple more weeks, for those of you who don't know me. Allan Callander represents the absolute best of First Unitarian Society, as far as I'm concerned. Dedication to our mission, the spirit of his volunteerism, and his professionalism. Allan is a member of this congregation who stepped up to fill that director 3 times. Good counting. It took me a while to recall the internecine twists of all of the plot that was going on. In the last decade, we've done a lot of stuff. How about these colorful chairs out here, huh? Now, it takes a huge group of people in a democratically governed congregation. I don't make any decisions and say, go do that, go thou forth, because that's just not how we work here. And so all of you have done it, and Allan has been absolutely key in all of the new things that we have in this congregation. Allan's integrity is incredible because you don't hire members, right? You don't do that. You don't cross that line. And I'm very careful about that and only do it when I absolutely have to. Allan has the absolute ability to separate staff and member roles and the integrity and professionalism to do that. And that has been so important. Putting up with staff, none of us have the ability to keep up with receipts for some reason. It's just, when you join our staff, you lose all ability to do paperwork, apparently. And so Allan has been instrumental in keeping that going. Absolutely. Well, Allan, I had to get you a card, and it says, congratulations, you've worked your tail off. So a little dog without a tail here, and because you have and thank you for everything you've done for us. Thank you, Dave.
I want to thank you all. I think this is humbling to the point of embarrassing. I can't say enough about the value of participating here. I mean, yeah, you get a chance. You have to put some effort into it, but the payback in terms of knowledge and the sense of community, in particular in the finance role, I got to realize that it's the contributions and the both time, talent, and et cetera, and resources that make this place work. We have an incredible community in that regard, and I just can't help but encourage everybody to just keep looking for ways to participate. And I can't accept the thanks without recognizing the fact that my role wouldn't have been possible without the help of Paul Riedesel and Barb Lutz in the last few years. So thank you both. Yeah. It's been huge. So thank you, yeah, I'm not going away. I'm just not signing or writing the checks up there anymore.
We discovered when we were preparing this that Allan really likes scotch.
Thank you.
Allan, everyone. Stick around afterwards for cake and to sign.
Thank you, Julie and Drew, for putting this together, and everyone. And we'll have cake afterwards. So as part of our mini meal, please enjoy the cake. And I think there's a card for everyone to sign. Not gonna. I'm just hearing the oohs and ahs. I should say that the scotch is not part of the celebration for everyone. First Unitarian Society is a congregational humanist community. We are here for each other. On Sunday, we take a few moments to reflect on the joys, on the sorrows, and the milestones of the human experience. In doing this, we remind ourselves of the value of a moment of stillness, and we are reminded to stay in touch with our own humanity. And as a gathered community, we do this so that no one among us is alone, either in celebrating life's joys or in facing life's tragedies and burdens. We are here for each other. Today, we have a joy we celebrate with Ruth Agar. Marty Will Agar was born at 4:01 a.m. on August 9th, 2023, 6.5 pounds, 19 inches, and Marty is Ruth's great-grandchild number 9. Congratulations, Ruth, and all family. Always downstairs in this space during our mini meal time, we have a card basket so that you can send a note to this family or other families or individuals that are part of our congregation who could use a little extra love. You write the card, and then we send them out. There's so much in our world that hurts. There's so much in our world that hurts. We come here with an opportunity to rest into it, to feel all of that hurt and also joy, love and difficulty, to be fully ourselves, fully human together in this moment. Whatever you bring is welcome here. Whatever you offer in this space is welcome here. Let's take a few moments of silence to reflect on the lives that we share, that we hold together, to reflect on those who work for justice and peace, and those who are suffering.
I don't speak Spanish, and this is the only Spanish text I've ever set to music, so that's sort of off the beaten path for me. But when I came across this poem a while back by Pedro Prado, Chilean poet, I really liked it. You have the translation, but the opening line says, "Friendship is love in a quiet state." I mean, who can argue with that? Maestro?
Ninguno de nosotros va a
Morning. Is this loud enough? Can you hear me back there? Off the beaten path and into the woods. Every once in a while, my granddaughter Wren asked me to sit with her and reread one of the well-worn stories from our giant paperback copy of The Complete Fairy Tales of the Brothers Grimm, a thick academic copy her mother was forced to read in order to complete her master's degree in creative writing. 756 pages of close to the source, hardly sanitized, often grim tales with titles like The Iron Stove, The Worn Out Shoes, and The Young Man Who Went Out in Search of Fear. And who could forget the classic tale, How Some Children Played at Slaughtering. By the way, my Milwaukee childhood memories includes being handed a free intestine-sheathed wiener across a butcher's glass countertop by a smiling, aproned sales clerk. Meanwhile, cheerful cartoon depictions of the many stages of pig slaughtering hovered above. They would have made perfect illustrations for children's books under the title, How Some Children Played at Slaughtering. If I close my eyes, I can still see the cartoon blood draining from the cartoon pigs while feeling the satisfying pop my teeth made while I chewed a hot dog. And following the arc of the story across the three walls of the butcher shop, viewing it a bit like I did the back of a box of Captain Crunch. But I digress. This is, after all, a day featuring creative nonfiction, memoir, and nearly free verse from our plucky FUS writing group, Write About It. When Ren and I sit down to read, it doesn't really seem to matter how dark or light the story is, or how cleverly written, only that it deals in the kind of dark matter that rattles around in our subconscious minds, witchy, jealous humans who cast the innocent into dark forests, clever and kindly animal siblings who protect and defend us, a house or a home or comfort at the end of the long journey, suddenly remembered as both a blessing and a birthright at the end of a good story. Granddaughter Wren and I sit and cuddle and bond as the stories wash over us, feeling our deep need to bear witness to the good, the bad, and the ugliness of life. Then we quietly absorb their layered meanings into our awe-filled souls and feel more prepared to enter into the woods of life again. It does not surprise me then that I experienced that same kind of awe, comfort, and fortification of the soul during our weekly Write About It meetings. They began under Jim Fode's gentle guidance and at the prompting of a friend of his early in the pandemic. You should be writing about it, she told him. Everyone should be. And so some of us did and continue to, these last 200 Mondays and counting. And today, our little intrepid group of writers will lead you off the beaten path and deeply into the woods that surround the lives of some of your fellow FUSers. The 17 or so little dwarfs who have participated in Write About It over these last few years now invite you to listen or to visit the lovely little cottage in the woods that they've stumbled onto, while following the breadcrumbs of our own lived experiences. Snap off a piece of gingerbread and take a bite. We promise not to eat you.
So this is from the book I mentioned earlier, Between the Listening and the Telling, How Stories Can Save Us by Mark Yaconelli. There are moments, often unexpected, when you find yourself at home in life, in your life. Simple, gentle, ordinary moments. Standing at the kitchen window, rain outside, the earth springing into green and yellow, the birds, ridiculous birds, singing without worry beneath the gray sky. For some reason, without effort, the anxiety lifts. Your chest relaxes. Your senses awaken. A quiet descends. And you are home. It is moments like this when I can feel how distant I have been from the life I long to live. I have been homesick and I didn't know it. I have been living miles away from my deepest yearnings and not known it. I have been hurrying through my days isolated, fragmented, caught within the jet stream of the anxious world. Only now, in the waking stupor, do I feel the alienation and loss like a sobering drunk, ask, how long was I out? Months is the reply. Other times, years. I used to sometimes sense in the conversation with friends, in the movies, books, stories we consumed, an unspoken longing for some kind of great disruption, a disaster, an upheaval, some systemic breakdown. Cell towers toppled, the internet shorted out, highways blocked, the human force would stop. It was a fantasy, of course, but one that revealed a kind of helpless despair at the lives we find ourselves compelled to live. It came from an unconscious understanding that our way of life was destructive and unsustainable, dishonest and unsatisfying, a longing for a reckoning and repentance, a longing for limits, an adult in the room to say, that is enough. It was a longing that we might come to our senses, to our neighbors, to our own basic needs and gifts. And then the world stopped. The pandemic hit, and we were effectively put under house arrest. Masked and hand sanitized, we peered with suspicion behind locked doors at the mail carrier, the old couple walking their dog far too casually, our own mother returning a casserole dish. Step back, mother. Do not touch the doorknob. Just leave it on the doorstep, mother. The Grim Reaper chillingly made its way through the human population, compelling all of us not only to withdraw from public spaces, but also to reflect inwardly. What is the meaning of life? What matters? Why am I living this way? Why have I wasted so much time? The pandemic ushered us into a liminal space, a disorienting, perilous state of unknowing, where we had to confront our relationship to self, others, technology, the past, the earth, the sacred, a period when everything unhealed within us was dredged to the surface. And it became unquestionably clear that the old stories of mindless consumerism, environmental exploitation, economic inequality, white body supremacy were killing us. Like a rite of passage or a well-crafted story, the pandemic carried us into a state of disorder, which all wisdom traditions believe is a necessary stage for transformation. Order, disorder, reorder. The gift of this disruption has been the uncovering of our fundamental cravings for one another, for the natural world, for family, for rest, for healing, for reconciling the divisions the old stories have kept alive.
The simple, powerful format of our Write About It group is what keeps it alive and easy to maintain week after week. 1, tune into Zoom. 2, receive a prompt or 2. 3, 21 minutes of focused free writing, or sometimes thought of as lightly organized chaos. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We don't have to share it if we don't want to. 4, read, listen, and make supportive comments. Note on supportive comments. As our wise founding father, Rev. Jim, once said, we don't really need critical voices from the outside or from the group. Most of us have plenty of that kind of talk coming from our own voices in our own heads. So now it's your turn to listen to the stories dredged up from the semi-conscious minds of Mark Sletterberg, Sharon Zingery, Bart Blackstone, read by Barb Weatherhead, and Caitlin Bowley, all born from nothing but a prompt in 21 minutes.
Sorry, I'm not myself today. I'm apparently George Hutchinson, which is not a bad thing to be. And now I actually become Mark Sledeha, and later at the UAH meeting, I'll be Cindy Picata. So this is in response to a prompt, and the prompt is 1,000 words are worth a picture. Write a descriptive picture of a relative who should be remembered or detail a family story that should not be forgotten. So Mark writes, my paternal grandmother, Susan, died in 1918 of the Spanish flu. She was only 26 years old, in the prime of life, with a baby of 11 months, who would turn out to become my father. My grandfather felt incapable of taking care of my dad, and as a result, Dad was raised for several years by his grandmother until his father remarried and was able to take him back. My step-grandmother was very fond of Dad, who was about 4 years old when he was permanently reunited with his father. However, it was my step-grandmother's intent to destroy all evidence of my biological grandmother. All photographs that she could find were destroyed. Throughout much of my life, I occasionally wondered what my biological grandmother looked like. However, as I was always reminded, all photos were non-existent. One day, about 10 years ago, my wife Marlene asked me to clean out a neglected closet area with many papers and some old family photos piled and unorganized in an old box. I had seen all of these old photos before. However, I failed to pay too close attention to them. But then, as I was sorting them out, I came across one photo of my well-recognized great-aunt sitting in a park on a sunny day, enjoying the moment with another young woman that I didn't recognize. Wait a minute, I did recognize the other woman. She had the same natural curly hair, the same facial features, and the same smile as my father. It was unmistakable. I found my grandmother. I had seen this photo at least several times in my life, but because I was led to believe that all photos of my grandmother were destroyed, it never occurred to me to look more carefully at the photo. This was a photo of two lovely sisters, taken probably around 1917. My great-aunt would survive until her late 70s, and my grandmother would expire a year after the photo was taken. Since then, I have been captured by the idea how often our preconceptions and expectations can so easily hide the obvious directly in front of us. Perhaps Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, author of The Little Prince, was right when he wrote, "What is essential is invisible to the eye."
Most of you probably don't know who I am. I am Teresa Zingery's sister, and I am a member sitting in there, here to cheer me on, and I am a member on Zoom from Chicago. I became involved because of COVID, and everything you've heard previously about our group is what brought me to community with all of you. And this group has helped heal and save me totally. So I'd like to share a piece. The prompt was paddle boat, rowboat, canoe, rafting rapids, water skiing, being still. Think about the water and what comes to mind. White water rafting. Never dreamed I'd even consider, let alone do it. Race down a river on an inflatable raft that could spring a leak, for God's sake. Attempt to control what's said fragile structure, protecting me from death by drowning or smashing into boulders, rearing their sharp edges and bigger than life, hard, round, body-crushing selves above the roaring rapids, or lurking beneath said rapids, not in this lifetime. Because of course it would mean the end of this lifetime, wouldn't it? Doubts assailed me. Surely I was not up to the task. Only sporty types were capable of such bravery. Intellectuals, or even pseudo-intellectuals, were not meant to take a sliver of wood, also known as a paddle, into hand and do battle with fierce currents. It was actually a conference thing. Attendees had the option of taking a raft down part of the Willamette River. Sections were labeled something like a Category 4 rapid, but they told me I could do it. Ha! They don't know me. How could they be sure I'd make it? Sheesh. Yet something tantalized me, called to me. I signed up, and even more miraculously, I showed up. The rush of water, the rush of wind blowing through my hair, spray in my face, roaring in my ears, laughter. Flirting with fellow conferees as I gingerly climbed into the seemingly fragile craft. Who best to sit next to? Yes, the guy from Hawaii who surfs. He can handle this task, right? And kind of good looking as well, so can't hurt. At least he could probably jump into the water and save me if I go overboard. Incredible rush of adrenaline, rush of water, speed, flying on water. No thinking, just rushing. Rushing water, rushing mind. The guide pulls us to a calm pool while we wait for the rescue of the other boat's tour guide, who flew off the raft into the last whirlpool thingy. The risk is real. Heart and throat, we watch the rescue and breathe again. Too soon it's over. I survived. I succeeded. It felt triumphant. Too brief. I feel powerful and fragile, both alive and scared and truly happy. It was beautiful. I felt beautiful. I am more than I thought.
My name is Barb Weatherhead. Yes, I am still alive. I join you normally via the internet on Sunday mornings, but I'm still here. And I am reading two short pieces written by Barbara Blackstone of the writing group, who passed away not too long ago. She was a dear friend in spite of the fact that she once fired me many years ago. The prompt was an important or memorable conversation. We were in community theater together and we're having a discussion about religion. I don't believe in God, he said, and my mouth fell open. You mean you can choose whether to believe in God? I asked with incredulity. I had been a religion major in college, and despite learning about different belief systems, I never thought there was a choice. Wasn't it just a natural and necessary part of being human? The second piece was to write about a human adversary. Reed, he was my boss, and he didn't like having a woman who had opinions or who asked, why are we doing that? He didn't like the fact that I had kept my birth name when I got married, saying he didn't think much of a man who couldn't get his wife to take his name. He often belittled my efforts, even when others appreciated them. And then he fired me. I was not deferential enough and had opinions I shouldn't have. And here I thought I was just doing my best.
another story to write about. Always looking for excuses. You get to hear another one of mine. The prompt was, write about someone who has been a mentor or light in your life. My beacon. Sometimes a beacon just looks like a pen light at the time. Often, one often hears someone famous speaking eruditely about a figure who served as their guiding light, the beacon who helped light their path to greatness or success. Their personal hero seems to take on the cape of a superhero aura. My first thought of that person who made a real difference in my life seems ridiculously small. And yet, she pops into my mind from the recesses of my memory banks as that everyday individual who appears to be just doing their job, not realizing their impact. They show up and get through the day without realizing they have left a wake that will stretch out for, say, 67 years, rocking the boat of that shy little girl, now a senior citizen. From time to time, when doubt sets in, the self-talk insisting, you can't do that, don't even try it. That little wake will rock my boat, reminding me of the day I did do the unthinkable. Unthinkable to me, anyway. That me was 7 and newly moved from small-town Texas to the intimidating city of New York. Why, these kids had even been in school a whole year longer than me. We did not have kindergarten where I came from. The penlight, who would burn brightly for me for lo these many years, was a short little lady, Mrs. Shellstock. I'm no good with names generally and cannot recall any other grade school teacher's names, but Mrs. Shellstock's name is burned into my mind though the spelling of her name keeps changing. I can never remember. She was my teacher, but one lesson was likely not in her plan. I suspect she may have in some ways seen herself as a builder of effective and self-assured humans, but I will never know. What I do know is that on the day of the great spelling bee, Mrs. Shellstock created the moment when I first believed that I just might be capable of doing big things. Oh, it really was a little thing that made a big difference for this shy little girl. Mrs. Shellstock made me captain of one of the spelling teams. No, my team did not win, we lost. Every time one of our team members misspelled a word, the other team got to pick one of our best spellers, except for the captain. Finally, I was the only one left on my team. The other side cheered loudly while my shoulders dropped dejectedly. Mrs. Shellstock then introduced a new rule. Let's see if Sharon can win some people back. And I did. At the end of the day, my team won. Now, I know I did not win by myself, but by the end of the day, I believed I could succeed in the face of impossible odds. Mrs. Shellstock, in that one exercise, helped me believe that I could be a winner, that I could and should attack what others say cannot be done because I just might accomplish the unexpected.
The prompt here is write about a gift that you received. Mark writes, I was 10 years old. Christmas Day was well below zero, and that didn't even factor in the wind chill. However, I had just received a pair of brand new hockey skates, and I wanted to waste no time trying them out, even on a sub-zero Christmas morning. I went down to the local skating rink, and of course, No one else was foolish enough to be outside in this weather. The silence and serenity were like a religious experience as I skated around the rink in my first pair of skates that were not hand-me-downs. This was the 1950s and the age of greasers. Our neighborhood area was loaded with greasers, and one of them, Mike J. in particular, was feared the most. He was always dressed in black leather jackets, had a classic ducktail haircut, rode a motorcycle with a cigarette always hanging out of his mouth, carried a switchblade, and was picked up by the police fairly often for apparently petty crimes. Though he was only about 16, he was well renowned, make that infamous, for a mean disposition and many neighborhood rumbles. Those of us who were younger and weaker knew well enough to keep our distance. Imagine my surprise when Mike shows up at the skating rink. Black leather jacket and ducktail, and figure skates. What, a greaser in figure skates? I didn't know whether to be petrified or just to be shocked. He was accompanied by his much younger sister. I stood and gazed at Mike skating as he pirouetted and performed leaps and spins with the greatest of artistic ease while his little sister watched, giggled, and admired. After he put on a skating performance that I had never seen before in my neighborhood, nor could ever be imagined by the likes of a person like him, he skated over to his inexperienced sister. He took her by both hands and proceeded to guide her in apparently her first skating lesson. Since I couldn't seem to stop staring at the two of them, after a while the little girl struggled and stumbled toward where I was standing, and after falling a couple of times, managed to get up and make her way up to me. Then with an ear-to-ear grin, she said, "That's my big brother, Mike, and he's teaching me how to skate." As her brother stood fairly close by, all fear went away. I suddenly realized that there is oftentimes an unknown depth and dimension to each one of us, and that all too often is hidden away, but waiting to emerge and be seen.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Bowley. I am reading you something from a prompt that said, "Write something about our Write About It writing group." All my life, I've hungered to write. All my life, the concept of sharing my words and thoughts with others has paralyzed my tongue and stayed my hand, despite evidence to the contrary regarding my tongue. It is far easier for me to speak of less important topics than to risk a deep truth. So, writing group seemed a safe, supportive baby step. The prompts lead us each in different directions, and as the pandemic began, it seemed like a safer alternative to the circle suppers my parents used to attend. I keep coming because I enjoy the people and the fellowship. Some weeks I sleep through the talk on Sunday and watch it later, but I usually end up at writing group. Some weeks I don't write anything at all. I just use the hour as a grounding experience, like joys and concerns, to remember, despite physical evidence to the contrary, I am not alone. "What do you do at writing class?" my mom asked during my basement sabbatical at her house during COVID. Well, it's not actually a class, I just think of it as such, but we write on or off a topic for about 20 minutes, and then if we want, we share a writing. I go back each time for the fellowship and connections, and to learn about the world through my fellow writers' experiences, and to remind myself I am not alone.
Thanks for listening and being part of the group for the day. For those who are willing to enter further into the woods, we offer you a prompt, some paper to write on, and 21 minutes after the service. Here's the prompt. There are people whose faces, when I see them here at FUS, light up my own. Write about that person and how they have that effect on you. Paper and pen are on the tables. We've set up some quiet space for writing after the service in the back, or at these tables here. We encourage you to share your writing, or just take some notes and speak about it if you want to after the service during social hour. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, writers. What a treat to go off the beaten path with you. A joy, a joy. So we're going to sing now, Building a New Way, with words and stories. Wow, lots of things to think about. If you'll stand as you're able, the lyrics are on your order of service. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way of feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. Thank you. Please be seated.
Well, what an incredible gathering today. It's so much fun, a little bit out of the ordinary. I think we see in this a little sliver, a little slice of what community looks like, of what humanist community can look like. In addition to the social justice work and the protests and the legislation and also really great talks and some philosophical stuff. And in addition to all these things, it's also writers groups and gathering to just listen and enter in and enjoy. And it's celebrating epic leaders and icons of the community, okay? And it's things like gathering here. I don't know if everybody caught it. It was mentioned briefly at the beginning, but gathering down here today as a connection point to how our community, decades back, used to meet down here regularly on Sunday mornings, or on summer mornings, right? And I forget, being a board member, I should be more aware of this, but what was that called? Summer, I thought you mentioned a name that the program is called. Just summer assemblies. Oh, okay. But yeah, no, so I think that's cool. I think this is cool. Yeah, it might be a little stuffier, hotter down here, but it's cool, right? Because it connects us to our past. It reminds us there's something bigger than ourselves. It reminds us of our unfolding, continually evolving community. And with that in mind, I have an ask for us. It's our weekly ask. The First Unitarian Society has survived and thrived for 142 years because of the dedication of its members and friends. That's you all, and everyone online. Thank you, Sharon, for coming off of online today. It's good to see you offline, all right? You provide, all of you, you provide the time, talent, and treasure that makes us literally a beacon for congregational humanism around the world, again, literally. If you would like to make a financial contribution today to help support this work, you can do so in one of several ways. You can do so via our website. You can do so via the Vanco mobile app. You can do it through PayPal or using the electronic kiosk that's downstairs, or by simply stopping by the office upstairs to drop off a paper check. But again, however you choose to do those things, thank you for your support in any amount of time, talent, treasure, whatever that might look like, and for making the work of the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis possible. Thank you.
Self-reoriented here. All right, so I will have some announcements here. So for those of you who are here in the room, we're going to have our mini meal right after the assembly. I know we've got even for that, a little bit of a different setup here. You have all kinds of options today. You can just eat if you want. You can depart if you want. If you've got to get going, that's fine too. This will be after the assembly here. Or you can do some writing. And the tables, these first two tables don't have any writing things on them. If you just want to eat, these are places to be outside. We'll have some spots there. But a lot of the other tables there have writing stuff. You can sit down. You can grab some food, sit down. Other food will be brought out on trays today. So you can set a timer for 20 minutes together and write, and then just discuss it, while you're having your meal. We're going to try this out. Again, our theme is off the beaten path. It's not just an excuse for all of my failings. It really is trying new stuff here and seeing what it's like. So we'll give that a try and just go with it. Then at noon, we have our monthly Welcome to FUS session. If you're new to this community or ready to learn more about our pathway to membership, make plans to join us in Kelly's office on the 3rd floor at noon. Finally, next Sunday, August 20th, is our Hymn Sing Sunday. If you have a favorite hymn or congregational song, let Reverend Kelly or Kate in the office know, and we will include it. And then Kelly has one more announcement.
So this coming week, we have some 20 people from all over the country who are coming for our OWL training, Our Whole Lives Sexuality Education. We're training facilitators here at this congregation, and we need FUS volunteers to help us prepare for it and for the weekend itself, just to be hospitality here. Suzanne is there in the back. She'll be at the membership table. We love Suzanne, our new membership coordinator. And if you are able to add a few hours of hospitality for this coming week for our OWL volunteers, we would really, really love to have you do that. And if you don't step up, we'll just start calling you. Thanks.
So once again, I have there's some words here that didn't make it into our order of service, but if you know them, you can speak along with me, and if you don't, just receive. So please join me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
My last song uses a text by the German Jewish writer Ludwig Jakubowski. And he tosses out a message that's sometimes a little hard for us old folks to really follow. But it comes down to this. Looking back on the best days of our lives, he's saying, do not weep because they are over. Smile because they have been. Easier sung than done.
Thank you, Paul. All right, so just to test who was listening or how well we were listening earlier, the retention here a little bit. If you just want to eat, not really interested in doing the writing today, where are you going to go? Oh, yeah, first two tables or outside too. Yes, okay, good job. All right, and then if you do want to write, where are you going to go? All right. And you can set a timer. You know, we do 21 minutes. You could negotiate among each other if, you don't quite have that much time. But somebody set a timer, write for a little bit, and then talk about it. You'll get a little experience of what we do.
What was the topic again?
Oh, yes. Let's see. I have it. Hold on.
There are people whose faces you see that light up when you see them, light you up when you see them. Write about that experience of those people who light you up. That's what I got out of that prompt.
Yes, exactly. Write about that person and the effect they have on you.
What happens when you don't see people?
Write about that.
Yes, that is good fodder for writing. Yeah.
Because I was so late.
Write it out. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So now our closing words. Go out into the world, be fearless, ask questions, hold on to what is good. Strengthen the weak, comfort the fearful, serve the suffering, do what makes you come alive. Rejoice in the power of the human spirit. So may it be.